We're in Barcelona for MWC26. I'm here with Rob Joyce. He is Director of Mobile Access Engineering at Virgin Media O2, the UK operator. Rob, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Great to be here. Looking forward to it.
This show is almost turning into an AI show, but it's important to come back and look at the pure mobile aspects of things as well. So what are the key customer trends that you're seeing currently that are impacting the way you plan and manage VMO2 cellular network?
Well, we talk to our customers and we really want to understand what they want from a mobile network. And it's quite simple, really. They want reliable coverage everywhere. So that's our strategy, is getting the largest and the most reliable coverage out across the UK. We're spending £700 million this year on our mobile transformation program, and that's all about adding coverage primarily through O2 satellite, and I know we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's also about adding an additional 2 terabits of capacity to the network so that when our customers have connectivity, they've got reliable capacity as well. So that's the crux. People want to do TikTok, people want to do YouTube on a train. It's not just a question of here, there, and it's everywhere. Everybody, we want solid coverage everywhere. Trains, airports, stadiums, etc. So it's what we call our moments that matter. There's nothing worse than, you've probably done it yourself, getting to a ticket booth where you need to download that QR code and it just doesn't work. We need reliable coverage everywhere. So that's our strategy.
Yeah, well, this show is a perfect example of how you can make the experience good, or if you go back a few years, not so good, and they've managed to figure that out over time. Now, there's been a lot of talk, particularly in the past year or so, about the anticipated growth in uplink data traffic from end-user devices. Are you expecting this to be a trend and a pressure on the networks, and how can you plan for this?
Yeah, a great question, and we've been monitoring this. We can see that there could be a shift towards uplink, depends on wearables, etc. And I'm looking forward to going around the stands this week and actually seeing what's coming down the line. But key facts then, we've seen 30% growth in uplink traffic over the last 2 years. Uplink has grown faster than downlink in our network over the last 2 years. So there is an underlying trend there that we're monitoring. And what we're doing now is we're beginning to forecast scenarios where we've got small, medium, large growth on the uplink so that we're ready to be able to cater for that growth. And we're quite lucky in that we've got a lot, as O2, we've got a lot of TDD spectrum. So we've got the 3.5, we've got the 2.6, we've got the 2.3. And actually, shifting the frame structure in TDD is quite simple. It's parameterization rather than physical changes. So if we needed to, we could start dedicating more of the TDD spectrum towards uplink. So we're quite comfortable that we could cope with a growth in uplink. We're just now watching how this grows over the next couple of years. And as I say, I'm hoping to get to the likes of Qualcomm and the other chip manufacturers to see what they've got coming down the line, because the chips that they'll be showing today is what will be in handsets in 18 months, 2 years' time. So that gives us a good idea what's coming, especially chips for wearables. I think that's the key thing here, because if we start seeing streaming to a cloud for AI inference of videos, then that's really going to start putting load on the uplink of the cellular networks. Yeah,
the chip companies and the test and measurement companies usually have things out there before. That's right, ahead of the game usually. It's really hard to have any conversations here without talking about AI, so we're going to get to that now. But in what ways is AI helping you with network management and monitoring of what's going on? Is it making your life easier? Can you see that already?
It is. AI is coming in. It helps me write my weekly report, to be honest. But more seriously, design drawings. We get design drawings from our multiple partners, and we used to spend hours reviewing them, all the dates wrong, all the scales wrong. We're now using AI to do a lot of that legwork for us. So we're reviewing detailed design drawings using AI. It's saving us about 8,000 man-hours a year in terms of effort.
Wow.
And it means that when we do get a design drawing from our partners, when we open it, we're fairly sure it should be what we want. The other thing we're using AI for is in our SON platforms. So we've got a SON platform across the O2 network. It makes 20,000 changes per day on the network automatically, so closed loop. We're beginning to put AI more and more into that platform, so we can start to do clever things like tilts during the day, etc. We can look for cell outages and then react to those, and then we can also start thinking about AI in terms of how we perceive the user's experience on the network. So we can start seeing, Ray had a bad day. I'm saying a bad day, but Ray had a bad experience at this train station today, and then he had another one yesterday. We need to do something. We need to maybe talk to Ray, make sure that tell him we fixed that station, or it will get fixed next week. So we're using AI to try and, I guess, give individual users a great experience on the network and actually monitor for, I guess, churn prevention is really what I'm trying to say here, that we're using AI to monitor each and every user's experience of the network.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's an important part of it. There's a lot of focus and talk these days about revenue generation, but churn management is as big an economic factor as anything else for the mobile operators in saturated markets.
Yeah,
like
and
UK.
it goes back to my point about the strategy being the largest and the most reliable network. Clearly, catching these pain points for our customers are key if we're going to live up to that sort of mission of ours.
Now, one of the still incredibly important topics for operators that's maybe been pushed aside a little bit here at MWC in the past couple of years by AI is energy efficiency. Are there any emerging capabilities or processes that are helping VMO2 to manage its RAN power consumption better, sort of year on year?
Yeah, well, I'll start maybe first of all with the simple stuff, and that's network refresh. So clearly we're now rolling out a new generation of towers across the network, our gigasites, and they're much more energy efficient in terms of bits per watt, or watts per bit, whichever way you want to look at it, but they're certainly more efficient. So that's helping us become more efficient. The other thing that we're doing is we're using our SON platforms to actually do power management now as well. So 70% of our electricity bill is on the RAN. So certainly it's an area that we're targeting now to make sure that if we can save 10%, that's millions of pounds of savings. So we're using SON to do what we call power downs, so low traffic power downs. So and we don't just use SON to do it, for example, midnight to 5 a.m. every morning. We're flexible, so we'll monitor a site, we'll see how the traffic changes, we'll predict when the traffic's going to change, and then the SON engine will then power down that site. It'll turn off carriers, it'll turn off parts of the beamforming to reduce power on the massive MIMO radios, because ultimately they're there for capacity, so you don't need capacity in the middle of the night, so you can start stepping down to some of the base layers. And because we've put 5G on multiple frequency layers in our network now, we can do that. So we've got 5G in 700 megs now. We've just turned, finally finished turning 3G off, so we've got 900. We're putting 5G on the 900 band. So we've got 5G standalone on the low bands now. So on a gigasite that's got 3.5, 2.6 as well, we can power down a lot of the high band capacity on a night and just stick to the low band 5G bands. So that's what we're doing to save efficiency. And as I say, if we could save 10% of that 70% of our power bill, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, you mentioned satellite earlier on, and of course, out of nowhere in the past couple of years, satellite communications, but particularly for the mobile operators, direct to device or satellite to smartphone, this is now a really big part of a lot of operator strategies. And of course it is with VMO2 as well. VMO2 just announced its relationship or just started the service with Starlink. How is this impacting your strategy and the way that you're thinking about the network, I guess the extended network now?
Well, O2 Satellite, you're right, launched this week. So it's our tie-up with Starlink. We're the first European operator to bring device-to-device data services to Europe. And we're really excited. We've gone from 89% landmass coverage of the UK to 95%. To put that into basic terms, that's about 2/3 the size of Wales added to the network overnight. So our customers now have much more reliable coverage. And as I said, go back to my strategy, it's all about being the biggest, being the most reliable, and this is a key underpinning factor of that. It's interesting. You're right. D2D has sort of come from sort of drawing books to being here quite quickly, and we're quite excited to be partnering with Starlink. They've got the biggest D2D constellation currently. 650 satellites in that constellation. Each satellite has about 40 spot beams on it, and then we're dedicating 5 megs of our 1800 to the satellite. So it can do text, it can do WhatsApp, it can do WhatsApp calls. It's probably up to about 4 megabits per second per spot beam. So it's a decent 4G data service. Clearly, it's aimed for areas outside of the terrestrial area, because it doesn't serve indoors. Clearly, it won't go through the metal roof of a car, but certainly goes through my glass roof of the Tesla. So it does work in cars with glass roofs. But it's for the hikers, it's for the sailors, it's for the bikers. It's making sure that you've got a service that when you go up to the Highlands of Scotland, you've got reliable text messages. You know that you can text 999 if you needed to, and that's what it's all about. It's if you remember, I said that the underpinning strategy is coverage first, then capacity, and then capability. And this is our base coverage layer now. It's a complement to the terrestrial network. You only select it when you are in a real not spot. So it's not like we're going to cover London, or you can choose to use it in London. You can't, because in London we've got our gigasite capacity there, and that's where you're best served. It's for those not spots that we may never cover in the future. So certainly, what surprised me when I came back was to see SRN. So again, the shared rural network. We've been building out sites. We're now coming to the end of that, and probably that's a good point to say, okay, we in rural areas we've built what we need to in terms of physical infrastructure. The last mile is going to be the satellite, and it makes more sense to cover the far rural areas using satellite than building new powered infrastructure on the ground.
And so just to clarify on a point you mentioned there, clearly this service is for when you're out of reach of the terrestrial network, but in a theoretical situation where the network wasn't available for some reason or another, or you were at the top of a very, very high building and the internal network and small cells went down in a city, is that connectivity, is it there in theory, or is it, if you're in the centre of London, for example?
Well, it's there. So the satellite network covers the pretty much the whole of the UK.
Yeah.
We stop at the 58th parallel, so that's Inverness upwards. Right. We're just waiting for more launches to take us beyond there. So it does cover the whole of the UK. Yes, if you were in a city and you'd subscribe to the service, it's a £3 a month bolt-on monthly, so it's affordable. If you lost cellular connectivity, you would reselect to the satellite. Can it cope with the capacity of London? No, it can't. But certainly it's there. So it's there as a reliable backup as well. So
sure.
Yeah. So like I say, I've been testing it. I'm quite excited to see it launch. We're seeing some good feedback now on the web from early adopters, and we're looking forward to really seeing what people do with it. And as I say, it's mainly aimed as I mentioned, more for the hikers, the bikers, the sailors, etc.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then finally, another a much more actually of a theme here this year. 6G. It's been brewing up for a few years already, and then the standards process got going last year. But there seems to be an acceleration of developments this year. Is this something that you're planning for, you're thinking about in how you develop your existing 5G infrastructure and how that's going to evolve into the 6G era?
It is. We recently ran our RFP. We're yet to announce the results of that, but clearly we've got an eye on the future there. So we want to make sure that the kit that we're deploying today is ready for the future. Clearly, with traffic growing still at round about 20% year on year, so whether that's the uplink or the downlinks, if we multiply that out a few years, it means traffic still doubles every 5 years on the network. So when we're not in this no growth era, it still doubles. So we're going to need more capacity on our macro cells in the next 5 years. Now, whether that's 5G or 6G, certainly we need something, and we see that the 6 gigahertz band is the prime candidate for the new spectrum. I think most likely if we're going to develop new technology for a new spectrum, it will probably be 6G. We've recently been up to the vendors and looking at their 6G research labs. I've already seen a 6G prototype handset this sort of size doing 2 gigabits per second indoors on 6 gig from an outdoor macro.
Right.
So the interesting thing is the massive MIMO panel at 6 gig can be a similar size to the current massive MIMO panel at 3.5 gigs.
Okay.
But because it's got more elements, it gets pretty much a similar downlink range to 3.5. So we do think that 6 gig is the answer. The challenge that we have as UK PLC is that Ofcom are still sort of dancing around the shall we give it to cellular or shall we give it to Wi-Fi. We think we should align with the European position on this.
Yeah.
We think it would be nice. There's now 3 operators effectively in the UK. It'd be nice if there were 3 200 meg channels, and at the minute the way Ofcom's sort of trying to share the Wi-Fi and the cellular, you can't quite do that. So I think Ofcom hopefully will see the light and will be assigning that. But I do think that 6G is coming. Of course, there's lots of speculation about what's it going to be used for. For me, it's all about capacity. We know capacity is growing. We know we're going to need a new system to cope with that capacity, and 6 gigahertz is key to that. And I expect that 6G will be provisioned in 6 gig, but also across all the other bands, just as we've seen with 5G now. We're refarming our old 3G spectrum this week to 5G. Certainly, we expect that we'll see 6G being placed in the legacy bands, and 600 megahertz is now being talked about, so that we could expect a new low band as well in that sort of time frame. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out with WRC in terms of the 6 gig and the 600 meg band as well. It is.
C20.
Exactly.
Yeah, all eyes on that. Rob, great, we covered a lot of ground there, but great to hear what VMO2 is doing and how you're thinking about all the different aspects, and look forward to catching up with you again soon, and good luck at the show here and getting some more ideas about what's going to give you maybe
sleepless
nights, but also the opportunity for new innovation and thinking about things a bit differently. So
right.
thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.